After refusing to babysit my stepsister's kids, my dad threatened to cut me off, leading to uncovered family secrets and strained ties. I'm Leona, 28F, and I've been dealing with some family trouble recently. My parents split when I was 10, and it was not a good experience. My mother moved out, and I lived with my father for several years. It was only the two of us. We were close, and I assumed we told each other everything. But as I got older, I realized there were many things my father withheld from me. When I was 16, my father introduced me to Clara, 50F. They had been dating for a time without informing me. I was hurt that he kept this a secret, but I attempted to be supportive. A few months later, they married, and Clara moved in with her daughter, Nancy, 25F. The transition was difficult. I went from being an only kid to suddenly having a stepsister, Nancy, and I never really clicked. She was lively and outgoing, whereas I was more reserved. We were courteous to one another, but we never became close friends or anything like that. At 18, I moved out for college, relieved to get some space from my new family. I focused on my academics and met new people. After graduating, I found a job in the same city and decided to stay. I go to see my father and Clara on holidays, but that was about it. Nancy and I scarcely communicated, just exchanging birthday texts and attending family dinners when I was in town. Fast forward to today. Nancy recently came to my city with her 27-year-old husband, Sean, and their two children, Mark for M and Anna, 2F. Sean accepted a new position at a technology startup, so they relocated here. Nancy does not work. She's a stay-at-home mom. When they first moved, my father called and requested me to assist them settle in. I was not delighted about it, but I agreed. I took them around the city, helped them select a suitable neighborhood, and even helped with part of the relocation. I believe that was the end of it, but I was mistaken. Nancy began citing my flat every evening with her children about a week after they relocated. She would ask me to look after them for an hour or two while she ran errands. I initially accepted because I wanted to be nice, but soon became a daily occurrence. I worked from home as a graphic designer, and while I was finished with work by the time she took the kids off, I value my alone time in the evening. I utilized that time to relax, work on personal projects, or socialize with friends. The kids are okay, but I'm not really a kid person. I don't know how to keep children entertained, and being around them always makes me nervous. I reminded Nancy several times that she needed to hire a babysitter, but she always had an excuse. It's just for today, she'd remark. I'm still getting used to the city. I started to suspect she was taking advantage of me. Last Friday, I had planned to go out with my pals. We were celebrating my best friend's promotion, which I've been looking forward to all week. I told Nancy in the morning that I would be unable to watch the kids that evening. She said okay, and I assumed that was all. But at 6 p.m., just as I was about to leave, Nancy arrived at my door with Mark and Anna. Before I could say anything, she handed me the kids and drove away. I tried calling her, but she did not answer. I even called Sean, but he did not respond. I had to postpone my plans and stay at home with the kids. I was infuriated. Nancy had ruined my plans before, but this was the first time she fully ignored my refusal to babysit. I was trapped with the kids until 9 p.m. when Nancy arrived to pick them up. When she arrived, I challenged her regarding her BHVY. She pretended it was no big deal and claimed she had an emergency. When I pressed her for information, she was unclear and evasive. I warned her that this could not happen again and that she needed to get a proper babysitter. Nancy became enraged, stated I was being selfish, and that family should assist one other out. That is when I lost my temper. I told her that we were not truly relatives. I explained that just because our parents married doesn't mean we had to be close. I informed her that we had scarcely spoken in years before she moved here, and now she was acting as if we were best friends. I told her I was done babysitting and that she shouldn't bring the kids over until in VY-TED. Nancy left in tears. I felt awful, but also happy that I had finally established a clear boundary. I believe that was the end of it, but I was mistaken. The next day, my father called me. He was upset with me. He stated Nancy had contacted him crying, accusing me of being nasty to her and the children. My father told me that I should apologize and continue to babysit Nancy. He said that this is what families do for one another. I attempted to convey my side of the situation. I informed him about Nancy taking advantage of me, repeatedly ruining my plan, and never respecting my time or boundaries. But my father was not listening. He continued emphasizing that I should be more understanding and helpful. Then my father said something that deeply saddened me. He called me selfish and expressed disappointment in the person I had become. He told me that Clara and Nancy were now my family, and I needed to accept it. He even mentioned how distant I had been since he married Clara, hinting that I still harbored a grudge. I was shocked. I told him they were his family, not mine, and that I was an adult capable of making my own decision. I told him that I had my own life and obligation, and I couldn't just drop everything to be Nancy's on-call babysitter. This resulted in a major debate. My dad threatened to cut me off if I didn't apologize to Nancy and resume Babysit. I felt hurt and enraged. I informed him I was self-sufficient and didn't need his money. I also suggested that if he wanted to cut me off over this, perhaps we weren't as close as I believed. My father ended the call by hanging up on me. Clara and other family members have since messaged me accusing me of being unfair. They suggest that I be more empathetic of Nancy's circumstances as a young mother in a new city. Some of my aunts have even called to say I'm pulling the family apart. Nancy hasn't contacted me directly, but she has been writing on social media about how families should always be there for one another. She has been tweeting quotes about the value of sisters and how blood does not determine family. It appears like she is attempting to publicly guilt-trip me. I feel like I'm going mad. Am I truly in the wrong here? I don't think it's fair for Nancy to expect me to be a free babysitter anytime she wants. And I don't think my father should threaten me about it, but I'm beginning to wonder whether I went too far in claiming Nancy and Clara are my real family. Part of me feels guilty. Perhaps I could have been more patient with Nancy. Perhaps I should have tried more to connect with her when we were younger. But another part of me is angry and resentful. I feel that my thoughts and boundaries are not being respected. I have always treasured my freedom. After my parents divorced, I learned to rely on myself. I worked hard in school, received a college scholarship, and have established a successful profession. I'm not used to how VYing people rely on me, and I'm not sure I want the responsibility. At the same time, I can't stop thinking about Mark and Anna. They're innocent in all of this, and I genuinely care about them. I don't want kids to feel rejected or undesired, but I also don't think it's good for them to have an aunt who dislikes babysitting. I tried discussing this with some of my friends, but they seem DVY dead. Some believe I'm being overly harsh and should try to work things out with Nancy. Others believe that I'm correct in setting boundaries and Nancy is entitled. I do not know what to do. Should I apologize? Should I stand my ground? I feel like this thing has spiraled out of control, and I'm not sure how to fix it. I don't want to lose my relationship with my father, but neither do I want to be taken advantage of. This scenario has caused me to question a lot about my family and myself. Am I really as selfish as my father claims? Have I been harboring bitterness for his remarriage without realizing it? Should I have worked more to develop a relationship with Nancy? I keep thinking about how things may have turned out differently if my mother was still present. She relocated across the nation after the divorce, and we don't communicate much. I wonder what she would say about all of this. I am at a loss. I believe that no matter what I do, someone will be upset with me. I want to do the right thing, but I don't know what that is. Update 1. It's been almost 2 weeks since my last post, and things have only become more complicated. I'd like to thank everyone who responded and offered suggestions. It let me see things more clearly. After reading the comments, I decided to stand my ground. I did not apologize to Nancy or begin babysitting again. This created some strained family relations. My father stopped communicating to me completely, and Nancy continued to post passive-aggressive messages on social media about false family members and the value of being present for nieces. And the quiet from my father was especially difficult. We used to communicate at least once a week, but now there is nothing. I tried to NCE myself that it was for the best and that I was creating good limits, but it still hurt. My stepmother, Clara, attempted to mediate the conflict. She contacted me several times attempting to get me to reconcile with Nancy and my father. She said she understood where I was coming from, but that family valued compromise. I appreciated her efforts, but I still felt as if everyone was rejecting my emotions. I immersed myself into my profession, taking on extra freelance projects to take my mind off the family problems. I also began going to the gym more frequently and took up a new hobby, painting. It was soothing to produce something lovely in the midst of my life's craziness. However, something unexpected occurred last week, which changed everything. I was in a neighborhood coffee shop working on a project when I overheard a familiar voice. It was Sean, Nancy's husband. He was seated at a table with a woman I did not recognize. At first, I assumed it was a work colleague, but then I noticed Sean reach across the table and take the woman's hand. They spoke in quiet tones and looked at each other in a way that indicated this wasn't a platonic meeting. I couldn't believe what I was witnessing. Sean was supposed to be at work, not HVYing what appeared to be a love encounter with another woman. I sat there frozen, unsure what to do. Shall I confront him? Should I snap a photo as proof? In the end, I did not do either. I silently gathered my belongings and exited the coffee shop. I went home, my thoughts racing from what I just watched. I did not confront Sean. I wasn't sure whether I should tell Nan. Would she believe me? Our relationship was already fragile, and accusing her husband of adultery might only make matters worse. I chose to sit with the information for a day and consider what to do. The next evening, Nancy called me. I almost didn't respond, assuming it was another attempt to guilt me into babysitting, but something prompted me to pick up. Nancy was in tears and asked if she could come over. I consented, belying she might have learned about Sean. When she came, she was a complete wreck. Her eyes were red and puffy, and she appeared to have not slept for days, but it was not about Sean at all. Nancy admitted she had lied about running errands when she left the kids with him. She acknowledged seeing a therapist for postpartum depression and anxiety. Nancy broke down while telling me her experience. She has struggled since Anna's birth, feeling overwhelmed and inadequate as a mother. She hadn't told anyone in the family because she felt humiliated and terrified of being judged. She left the kids with me during her therapy appointment. I was stunned. I felt a range of emotions: pity for Nancy's situation, rage that she had deceived and taken advantage of me, and regret for how harshly I had judged her. I told Nancy that while I realized she was going through a difficult period, it was unacceptable for her to lie and dump her children on me without notice. We spoke for hours. Nancy apologized for her conduct and for not being open about her issues. She promised to hire a proper babysitter for her sessions. I informed her that while I couldn't be a regular babysitter, I would be happy to assist out on occasion if she gave me advance notice. As we spoke, I began to VYEW Nancy in new light. I learned that despite her seemingly wonderful life, she struggled just like everyone else. It made me reflect on how little I understood about her life and how quickly I had judged her. Nancy also discussed her emotions of loneliness after MOVYing to the city. She stated she was thrilled to be closer to me. Belying we could finally have the sisterly bond we had never had. She said she had pushed too hard and too quickly, and she apologized for not respecting my boundaries. I also conveyed my own feelings. I told her how I felt left out after Dad remarried and how I battled to fit into our new family dynamic. We chatted about our childhood, sharing recollections and opinions that we had never discussed before. Just as we were beginning to restore our relationship, I was faced with the decision of whether to inform Nancy about what I observed with Sean. I debated the option, but in the end, I chose to be honest with her. I gently informed her what I had seen in the coffee shop. Nancy's reply was not what I expected. She didn't appear astonished or outraged. Instead, she became extremely silent before saying, "I know about Sean's meeting. It turns out that the woman Sean was meeting is his half-sister. Sean was adopted as a baby and had lately discovered his biological father. He had been meeting with his half-sister in secret since he was not ready to inform Nancy or the rest of the family. He was concerned about how it may affect their family relationships, particularly with his adoptive parent. I was happy Jake was not cheating, but I was also frustrated by our family's concealment. I told Nancy that all of this, her treatment, Sean's meetings, could have been avoided if everyone had simply been honest from the start. Nancy agreed and said she'd speak with Sean about being more open with the family. She also pledged to be more open with me in the future. We concluded the evening on a brighter note than we had in weeks. The next day, I called my father. I informed him about Nancy's troubles and how we had worked things out. I also told him that while I was willing to have a relationship with Nancy and occasionally help out with the kids, my limits needed to be respected. To my amazement, my father was understanding. He apologized for his reaction and acknowledged that he had put too much pressure on me. We promised to improve our communication and respect each other's boundaries. We also talked about the past, including how his remarriage affected me and how we had grown apart over time. It was a challenging conversation, but it seemed like we were finally confronting topics we had been ignoring for. Things have calmed down, but I still feel like I'm walking on eggshells. There are numerous secrets and unsaid concerns in our family. I'm glad Nancy and I were able to sort things out, but I have a feeling there will be more trouble. I'm trying to stay positive, but I'm also bracing myself for what might happen next. This entire experience has made me realize how little I knew about my family. It's made me ponder what additional mysteries lie beneath the surface. For the time being, I'm working on gradually restoring my connections with Nancy and my father. It's not easy, and there are still periods of tension, but it appears like we're headed in the right path. I'm discovering that family connections are complicated, and communication and honesty are essential. I'm also trying to strike a balance between being present for my family and preserving my own boundary. It's a work in progress, but I'm hopeful that we can be family without compromising our distinct wants and identity. Update 2. It has been approximately a month since my last report, and I wish I could say that things have improved, but they have not. In reality, things have gotten a lot worse. Remember how I started to feel like more drama was about to unfold? Well, I was correct, but I could not have foreseen what happened next. Nancy called me last week. Frantic, she was in tears and hardly intelligible. When I calmed her down, she informed me that she had received some horrible news. Sean hasn't simply met his half-sister. He's had an affair with her. Nancy grew suspicious of Sean's numerous meetings and decided to follow him one day. She noticed him meeting the woman at a hotel rather than the customary coffee shop. She approached him, and he confessed to the affair. He attempted to excuse it by claiming that he felt a connection with his half-sister that he had never had before, but Nancy was understandably appalled and devastated. I was shocked. I felt bad for not pressing harder when I initially saw Sean with the woman. I attempted to console Nancy as best I could over the phone, but she was distraught. She explained that she was VYing Sean and asked if she and the kids could stay with me for. Despite our pre-VYS disagreements, I couldn't send her away in her time of need. I agreed to let them stay. Nancy and the kids moved in with me the next. It's been a tough transition. My flat isn't really designed for 2 young children, and Nancy is still really emotional. She alternates between tears and aggressive outbursts. I'm trying to be supportive, but it's taking its toll on me. To make matters worse, Sean has been bugging Nancy with continuous phone calls and messages. He's even popped up at my flat several times, causing havoc in the corridor. I had to threaten to contact the police to get him to go. It has been distressing for everyone, especially the children, who do not understand what is going on. Another explosive went off in the midst of the mayhem. My father contacted me seeming anxious. He said he needed to tell me something important and asked if he could come over. When he arrived, he dropped a bombshell that shocked me to the core. It turns out Sean's half-sister is also my half-sister. My father admitted to having a brief romance with Sean's biological mother years ago before meeting my stepmother. This woman gave birth to a daughter, who Sean has been having an affair. I was stunned. I couldn't believe what I heard. My father had held this secret for nearly 30 years. He stated he only found out recently when Sean's half-sister took a DNA test, and it matched some of our family members. My father got in touch with her and learned the truth. I felt as if my entire universe was crumbling. Everything I believed I knew about my family was. I was angry with my father for keeping this a secret, at Sean for betraying me, and at myself for failing to anticipate any of this. I haven't told Nancy about the recent revelation yet. She's already coping with so much, and I'm worried this may push her over the brink, but I know I'm going to have to tell her someday. The pre-VYS several days have been a haze. I've been trying to keep things regular for the kids, while simultaneously supporting Nancy and dealing with my own thoughts about this new sister. I've taken some time off work to deal with everything, but I'm not sure how long I can do. I'm at a loss on what to do next. My flat has become a refuge for my sister and her children, a safe haven from her cheating husband, and it now feels like the hub of a decades-long family scandal. I'm trying to keep everything together, but I feel like I'm drowning in secrets and ice. I'm not sure how our family will ever heal from this. The trust has been damaged, and I'm not sure it can be repaired. I'm thinking about going to therapy to deal with all of this, but for the time being, I'm just taking it day by day. I've tried to contact some friends for help, but it's difficult to explain the scenario without seeming like I'm making it up. How would you inform someone that your brother-in-law is having an affair with your hidden half-sister? It sounds like something from a horrible soap drama. I'm also concerned about the long-term ramifications of all of this. What will happen to Nancy and the children? Will Sean seek custody? And what about my half-sister? Should I try to reach her? Do I really want to know her, given the circumstances? It's also worth considering how this may influence my relationship with my father. I'm upset that he kept this a secret for so long, but I understand that he was probably terrified and ashamed. Even so, knowing what he did makes it difficult to look at him in the same way. For the time being, my primary emphasis is on Nancy and the children. Despite the volatility, I'm attempting to provide a stable atmosphere. It's not simple, but it seems like the proper thing to do. I'm also attempting to care for myself. I've started journaling to help me process my emotions, and I'm making an effort to do something I enjoy every day, even if it's as simple as reading a book or going for a walk. I know I'll have to make some important decisions shortly about Nancy's predicament, my connection with my father, and whether or not to contact my half-sister. But for now, I'm just trying to get through each day. If anyone has been through something similar and has any suggestions, I'd be grateful. This entire scenario is daunting, and I could use all of the help I can get. Update 3. It's been 3 months since my last update, and much has changed. After the shock of the discovery subsided, we had to cope with the aftermath. I eventually told Nancy that Sean's affair partner is our half-sister. She was devastated all over again, but also pro-VY dead her with the necessary closure. She sought for divorce and received a restraining order against Sean. The legal procedure has been messy, but Nancy is sticking firm. Nancy and her children remained with me for approximately a month before she found a tiny apartment of her own. She began working part-time at a local bookstore and is gradually reconstructing her life. This experience has actually brought us closer together. I occasionally help her with the kids, but only on my terms, and she respects my boundaries. We haven't contacted our recently discovered half-sister. We aren't ready for it yet, and I'm not sure we ever will be. The circumstances of her existence, as well as her acts with Sean, make it difficult to consider VYing a relationship. My relationship with my father has been strained. I was upset with him for hiding such a significant secret for so long. We've had several lengthy, painful discussions on trust, honesty, and the consequences of his decision. He has been VY citing a therapist to deal with his shame and learn how to regain trust with his family. It is a slow process, but we are making progress. I've started VY citing a therapist to deal with all of my inner problems. It's helped me go through my feelings and set reasonable boundaries. I am learning that it is acceptable to prioritize my own mental health and well-being, even when family members are in crisis. One unanticipated result of all this is that I've reconnected with my mother. After everything came out, I contacted her because I needed someone to talk to who wasn't personally engaged in this. We've had some wonderful discussions, and she's been a source of comfort throughout this. We're VYing to restore our relationship, and it's been great to have her back in my life. I've also made significant changes in my life. I decided to take a sabbatical and travel. I needed to go away from the family drama and rediscover myself. I'm writing this post from a modest cafe in Europe where I've spent the last month. This distance has helped me gain perspective. I've come to learn that while family is important, it is not everything. People who genuinely care about you will respect your boundaries and will not pressure you to sacrifice your ideals or well-being. I don't know what the future holds for my family. The lost trust will take a long time to recover, if at all, but right now I'm focusing on myself, healing and growing. I'm learning to define family on my own terms and surround myself with people who bring happiness into my life. Nancy and I communicate regularly. She's doing better now, focused on her children and her new career. The divorce proceedings are ongoing, but she's managing them with strength I didn't know she possessed. We are arranging a trip with the kids next summer, something to look forward to. Sean, as far as I know, has left the city. His affair with our half-sister ended horribly, and he's been attempting to reconcile with his adoptive family. I don't know all the specifics, and honestly, I don't want to. My father and I are progressively restoring our relationship. We talk once a week, and while things haven't returned to normal, they're VYing. He's trying to be more open and honest, not just with me, but with everyone in the family. This entire event has taught me a great deal about resilience, forgiveness, and the value of honesty. It has also taught me that it is never too late to establish boundaries and prioritize your own well-being. Thank you to everyone who has followed my tale and offered to add VYC along the way. Your support has meant more than you realize. If there's one thing I've taken away from this, it's that life may take you by surprise in unexpected ways. All we can do is strive to approach each day with honesty, courage, and self-respect. Thank you for watching. If you haven't subscribed yet, please do so and hit the notification bell to stay updated with more shocking real-life stories happening around you.